The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer has a 127 mm Mark 45 naval gun on its forward deck. If it were to engage in a firefight with the 155 mm M109 howitzer, which would be stronger? The answer is undoubtedly clear. A single Mark 45 naval gun could take on an entire artillery battalion of 8 M109. Why is this the case? The M109 has a larger caliber. Generally, land-based artillery cannot compete with naval guns, though there are exceptions, which we will discuss later. Naval guns surpass land-based artillery in both range and rate of fire, an advantage that has existed since the age of sail. Since ships move through water, their weight restrictions are far less stringent than on land, allowing naval guns to be designed much heavier. For example, the Mark 45 naval gun weighs 21.7 tons. Although this number seems comparable to the M109's weight, the M109's chassis, suspension, and transmission system alone account for 18 to 20 tons, leaving the actual artillery system weighing no more than 10 tons. Land-based artillery must prioritize mobility, meaning strict weight limitations are imposed. Unlike the open sea, land-based artillery must traverse diverse terrain such as plains, swamps, dense forests, and mountains. If the gun is too heavy, its deployment and repositioning become difficult, reducing its survivability. Because of this, land-based artillery must strike a balance between firepower, range, and weight. A lighter design means shorter barrels, thinner barrel walls, and lower chamber pressure, ultimately limiting range compared to naval guns. In contrast, naval guns can be much larger and heavier. Their barrels can be longer and thicker, allowing for higher chamber pressure, longer service life, and significantly higher sustained rates of fire without overheating or losing accuracy. With an automatic loading system, a naval gun's rate of fire is even faster than that of a semi-automatic rifle. For example, the Mark 45 has a rate of fire of 16 to 20 rounds per minute and a barrel life of 8,000 rounds. The M109 has a rate of fire of 1 to 4 rounds per minute and a barrel life of 1,800 rounds. Another advantage of the naval gun is that it does not require a complex recoil absorption system. This is because naval guns are installed on ships weighing thousands or even tens of thousands of tons, allowing the ship's mass to absorb recoil forces naturally. In contrast, land-based artillery, due to its weight and size limitations, must incorporate complex recoil management systems to handle the immense force generated upon firing. However, not all land-based artillery is weaker than naval guns. Coastal defense guns have long been considered the nemesis of naval artillery. Like naval guns, coastal artillery can be designed to be extremely large and heavy, offering formidable firepower and range. Historically, coastal artillery held an advantage in accuracy. These guns were typically fixed inside fortified positions, allowing for pre-calculated targeting data and a stable firing platform. In contrast, naval guns had to compensate for wind, waves, and ship movement, making accurate targeting more difficult. Even World War II battleships with large caliber guns struggled to match the precision of shore-based artillery in rough sea conditions. However, with advancements in modern technology, the accuracy of naval guns has significantly improved. Modern naval guns are equipped with advanced fire control systems, including gyroscopes, radar, and electro-optical tracking, automated target tracking, and ballistic computation. Precision-guided naval shells capable of mid-flight trajectory correction, further improving accuracy. Thanks to these advancements, naval guns are now far more accurate than before. Meanwhile, coastal artillery has been completely phased out, replaced entirely by anti-ship missiles. So why do modern warships still equip a naval gun when they already have missiles? When facing close-range emergency threats, naval guns can instantly unleash a rain of shells, forming a dense firepower net that effectively intercepts incoming anti-ship missiles or suppresses small surface targets, such as speedboats and fishing vessels. This immediate and overwhelming firepower output is particularly crucial in close-range naval engagements. Secondly, from a cost-effectiveness perspective, naval guns exhibit significant economic advantages. Compared to the high-cost missiles, naval gun ammunition is not only cheaper, but also more flexible in application. For low-value target engagements, using naval guns is undoubtedly a more economical and efficient choice, helping to allocate limited military resources reasonably. Additionally, naval guns possess strong resistance to electronic warfare interference. The modern battlefield's electromagnetic environment is increasingly complex, and missile guidance systems are highly susceptible to interference, which affects their strike accuracy and effectiveness. In contrast, naval guns, with their simple yet robust structural design and mature operational principles, can maintain stable combat performance in such environments, offering high reliability. Since naval guns remain important in modern warfare, and destroyer displacement continues to increase, surpassing 10,000 tons, why hasn't the caliber of naval guns increased? Why don't modern warships mount larger caliber guns, such as the 406mm main guns of battleships? For example, using the once famous 406mm Mark 7 naval gun, which was the main gun of the Iowa-class battleships, USS Washington relied on this caliber gun to achieve the best naval gunfire engagement record of World War II. With shells weighing over 1 ton, whether for naval engagements or shore bombardments, the impact was tremendous. However, large caliber naval guns have a very obvious weakness: limited rate of fire. A firing rate of around 2 rounds per minute is far from sufficient for air defense needs. Even 100mm medium caliber naval guns are less efficient in air defense compared to smaller rapid-fire guns. Additionally, modern warship main guns, when used for naval engagements, primarily target approaching small boats, whereas a 406mm naval gun would be excessive for engaging small boats. Although large caliber naval guns are highly effective for shore bombardment, carrier-based aircraft on aircraft carriers and amphibious assault ships have a much greater strike depth and distinct advantages in this role. Furthermore, a naval gun is not just the turret visible on the deck. Beneath it, a large amount of space is required to accommodate ammunition magazines, loading systems, cooling systems, etc. Large caliber naval guns demand even more internal space. One notable aspect is that battleship naval guns are typically positioned closer to the center of the hull because the gun system requires significant depth below the deck. However, on modern multi-role destroyers, this position is often occupied by vertical launch systems, which also require depth for installation. At the same time, although modern destroyers exceed 10,000 tons in full load displacement, there is still a significant gap compared to true super battleships in terms of tonnage. Large caliber naval guns themselves take up substantial weight. For instance, the Mark 7 naval gun alone weighs 121 tons, not including its individual 1-ton shells, which require extensive storage. The need to store large amounts of ammunition would occupy considerable tonnage, inevitably encroaching on missile storage space. Meanwhile, installing more advanced radar systems and additional VLS modules is a higher priority. In conclusion, naval guns have been relegated from primary weapons to secondary weapons in modern navies, and there is neither the need nor the justification to install a giant gun like those on battleships. Nevertheless, naval guns still possess far greater firepower than land-based artillery,